There are only about 20 days left until the end of Season 3, and the dev team promised a Roadhog rework, so we were originally planning on releasing the tier list after the changes, but nothing new came about even after the Pachimari event, so instead, we'll only be taking a look at the effects of the mid-season patch. Starting off with DPS, we have Cassidy, Tracer, and Widowmaker in S tier. Interestingly, in Asia, there's a stronger preference for Widowmaker over Cassidy, but the point values of both hit scans have increased across all regions. If you've been keeping up with the Overwatch League Pro-Am, it's no surprise that Tracer is almost a must-pick to pair with any dive tank. Sojourn is the only DPS that received nerfs in the mid-season patch, but despite that, she's still an extremely popular pick right now, with a noticeably high preference in Asia. It's definitely a relief to see her out of S tier this season after completely dominating the previous 2 seasons. Hanzo received a cooldown reduction for his leap, and Mei also got a slight buff. Both heroes are starting to see an increase in scores, and it's likely this trend will continue throughout the rest of the season, with many teams in the Pro-Am showing off the viability of these 2 heroes in rush comps with either Ramattra or Reinhardt. Both Pharah and Ashe also received small buffs, but there isn't much of a noticeable change in their scores. With the dominance of burst hit scans like Cassidy, Widowmaker, and Ashe, it's not too surprising to see Pharah struggling in this meta. Interestingly, Soldier shows a high popularity in both Americas and EU, but has an insanely low score in Asia. The biggest losers of this patch are Genji, Torbjorn, and Junkrat, who are seeing continuous drops in usage across all regions since the beginning of Season 3. When we compare the DPS meta to Season 1 and 2, the balance is seeing some incredible improvements, with more and more heroes being viable rather than 1 or 2 heroes completely dominating the competition, like with Sojourn having 900 points last season. For the tanks in S tier, we have Sigma and Wrecking Ball showing consistently high values across all regions. A small nerf to Wrecking Ball's minefield activation time has successfully halted the hero from increasing dominance at the very least. Ramattra received a quality of life change, but despite that has seen a decrease in usage. But based on the leaked Overwatch League scrims and the Pro-Am matches, he's not a bad pick at all. Zarya and Roadhog received some small buffs, and Orisa received a small nerf from the mid-season patch as well, but the changes have made almost no meaningful impact on the meta. An interesting thing to note is that in Asia, Reinhardt, Ramattra, Junker Queen, and Orisa are seeing an abysmally low usage, while having an extremely high preference for dive heroes like Winston and D.Va. The dominance of dive in this region is very noticeable, and it reflects the popularity of these heroes in the current pro meta. Meanwhile, the Americas is showing a noticeably lower usage of D.Va compared to the other regions, despite the fact that she's a great pick against Wrecking Ball in the current meta. This is also the only region where Doomfist is seeing an increased popularity, and honestly, I don't even have the slightest clue why this is the case. EU seems to have a higher preference for Orisa compared to the other regions, and as a result, has the lowest value for Doomfist. There's a high variability across the regions for the tank meta, which is good because it means that the roster is balanced enough that each region is able to express its unique preferences. But one thing's for sure, Roadhog is really in need of that promised rework. Finally, it's the supports. Ana, Kiriko, and Zenyatta are all S tier picks, but because of the fact that Ana is essentially a counter against most non-shield tanks, as well as the fact that Kiriko is the only counter pick against her, as long as Ana keeps showing dominance like this, Kiriko might never move out of S tier. And geez, Ana is way too popular in Asia. Baptiste was the only support that was changed in the patch notes, receiving a huge buff to his immortality field, and to no surprise, this buff has noticeably solidified his place in this meta, of course excluding Asia, which is dominated by dive, making Baptiste a riskier pick in this region. And to no surprise, Moira is suffering in the highest ranks, but she's definitely not doing as nearly as bad as Roadhog from the tank tier list. If I had to speculate why the devs haven't touched the supports as much as the other roles, it's likely because of the next new hero coming in Season 4. Not only is the support meta fairly balanced, perhaps the new hero is expected to shake up the support meta, and well, there's only one way to find out. Overall, the game seems to be pretty well balanced, with most heroes being viable at the highest levels across the regions. After moving to 5v5, not only is there one less variable to worry about when balancing the game, the devs have consistently been making small changes in a very timely manner. And to summarize the best hero picks in the current patch, we have Cassidy and Tracer for DPS, Sigma and Wrecking Ball for tank, Ana, Kiriko, and Zenyatta for the supports. But as long as you aren't playing Roadhog, anything is fair game. Hope this helped, and I'll see you guys in the next one.